Should we give up our U.S. citizenship? That's the question that people ask us all the time when they find out that we are in the process of obtaining our Portuguese citizenship. You see, we have lived in Portugal for more than 5 years, and we have checked off all the boxes. We are eligible to apply for Portuguese citizenship. And the question that we get time and time again is, are you going to give up your U.S. citizenship? Hey guys, it's Amon
and Christina
from Our Rich Journey. So in today's video, we are going to answer the question, should we give up our U.S. citizenship? You know, we moved to Portugal 5 years ago and 8 months. And when we moved here, it was just an idea, an adventure. But as we've lived here for such a long time, we've really made Portugal our home. We can't see ourselves living anywhere else in the world. So if we have no plans on ever moving back to the U.S., why not give up our U.S. citizenship? And in this video, we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about the process that goes into renouncing your U.S. citizenship.
Yes, so we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of doing the whole thing, the process, like you said, and then also, which is very important to us, our final conclusion as to whether we actually plan to give up our U.S. citizenship.
I think our answer is going to surprise a lot of people. So giving up your U.S. citizenship sounds extreme, but a lot of Americans are actually doing this, especially right now.
So I think one of the big reasons why people renounce their U.S. citizenship is for tax purposes. The U.S. is only one of 2 countries that taxes citizens no matter where they live in the world. So even if you are not living in the United States, you still have to file your taxes every single year as a U.S. citizen. There's also the issue of banking headaches. So a lot of foreign banks don't actually want to deal with Americans. And the reason is because of FATCA. So this is a U.S. law that makes foreign banks report your accounts to the United States. Another reason is investment limitations. So there are some U.S. investments that are off limits to U.S. citizens, or they come with really heavy tax consequences.
The next reason people give it up is for freedom and simplicity. Some people just want a clean slate. No more filing U.S. tax returns, no more compliance burdens, just living where they are without the extra baggage.
And then finally, I think there are some people that are also renouncing U.S. citizenship just because of the political climate. They're making a political statement that they no longer want to be tied to the U.S.
They don't want to be Americans.
So let's talk about the process of renouncing citizenship, because it's not something as simple as just going to the U.S. federal government, wherever that would be, and saying, I no longer want to be a U.S. citizen. It's actually a process, and it's a pretty detailed process. So you have to be completely sure that this is what you want to do before you get started.
So there's a process. I thought you just walked over to the shoreline and screamed at America and said, I'm never coming back.
It is not that easy.
I'm giving it. No, there is a process.
So step 1, you already have to be a citizen of another country. You have to hold a passport from another country in order to renounce citizenship. Step 2, you schedule an appointment at the U.S. Embassy or consulate, and you formally renounce in person. Step 3 is, of course, there is a fee associated with this. So you have to pay a fee, which is currently $2,350 in order to renounce citizenship.
And in addition to the fee, you might also have to pay taxes for exiting. I mean, America's going to get you leaving, coming and going. They're going to get their money.
And the final thing, the big part, is that once you are approved, you'll receive a certificate of loss of nationality, and then you will officially no longer be a U.S. citizen.
So that was the 5 steps to renouncing your U.S. citizenship. It sounds pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. The thing is, once you do it, it's irreversible. There's no going back unless you go through the process of applying to be a U.S. citizen like everyone else that is trying to also do the same thing.
So I think when a lot of people ask us about whether or not we're going to give up US citizenship, they don't necessarily know that it's irreversible, but they're thinking of a lot of things that tie us to Portugal when they're asking us. So for example, we really consider Portugal home here. And another thing is our daughters also consider it home. They are also getting permanent Portuguese citizenship.
And of course, people always ask us because of the tax implications. If you're here in Portugal, why are you still paying taxes in the US? In fact, we're paying taxes in both countries. And so with all of this taken into consideration, it's no wonder why people say, why don't you just give up your American citizenship?
So I think that is a really great question, but giving up US citizenship isn't just about tax consequences. There are other serious implications.
There are real consequences.
There are real consequences to giving it up. The first being that, of course, you lose the right to vote in any type of election in the United States, which is really important to us.
The next thing is if we want to go visit the US, we may need a visa at some point in the future. We would need permission to enter into America. Now, with our Portuguese citizenship, a Portuguese passport allows you to enter into the US on a 90-day visa. But we still have friends and family in the US, and maybe we want to go back to the US for longer to spend more time with them. The next thing is that we may lose access to certain government benefits, like Social Security. I mean, Christina and I used to work for the federal government. And so what would happen to our inevitable federal pensions that we're supposed to get at some point in the future? All of this would be called into question if we gave up our US citizenship.
So with all that said, before we give you our decision of what we plan to do, we just want to let you know if you are interested in moving to Portugal and you want to learn more about the visa process, about schools, healthcare, housing, all of that, we have a Moving to Portugal course. You can learn more about it at ourrichjourney.com, and we'll also leave a link for that in the description below. So in regards to the question as to whether we will give up our US citizenship, the answer is
drum roll, please.
No. I mean, it's great to think about this opportunity to not have to pay taxes in the United States. I think that's great. But at the same time, I think one of the biggest concerns for us is the fact that it is irreversible. If we found that we were in some situation here in Portugal or even in the EU where we needed to pick up very quickly and go back to the United States, if we gave up our US citizenship, that wouldn't be an option. It's almost like having this thing in our back pocket that we can rely on if we ever needed to. And
I think an insurance policy.
Yes, it's an insurance policy for us. So the answer is no, we do not have any plans to give up our US citizenship.
Now, it's a very expensive insurance policy, but we think that it's worth it. And, you know, we like the options of having both the US and Portugal as citizenship options. And for us, that's just the decision that we made. At some point, maybe this decision will change. But for now, we're going to keep the status quo.
So if you guys like this video, please make sure you give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and join the journey.